Hello friends, today we are going to study about the microscopy and staining, and which is included into the basic techniques in microbiology. What is microscopy? Why microscope is required? How to use the microscope? Principles of microscope, some parts of the microscope, and the types of microscope. These are the topics included in this topic. That is, the parts are light microscopy, in bright microscope, bright field microscope, dark field microscopy, phase contrast microscopy, and fluorescent microscope, and other scanning and electron microscopy. This is the primitive microscope, and it was prepared by the John Marshall in 1700. Why microscope is required? Here you can see this small and tiny objects such as the viruses and the proteins and lipids. They can be studied only by the use of electron microscope. Some objects such as the size is the one from 1 micrometer to 100 micrometer, they can be studied only by use of the light microscope. And these are the objects which has the size from 1 millimeter to 10 meter. They can be observed by the naked eye. So because of this all objects, we have to require the microscope to study the eukaryotic cell, to study the mycoplasma, and to study the viruses. So microscope is required to study the objects, tiny objects which cannot be seen by the naked eye. Discovery of the microscope was done by the Antoni van Leeuwenhoek, first person who has observed and described the microorganisms accurately. In 1590, first compound microscope was observed. Microscope is a tool which can help you to see the tiny objects and living organisms, and it makes them look bigger. The ability of the microscope is called its magnifying power or the magnification. So if we see the tiny objects from magnify the tiny objects, and this property of the microscope is known as the magnifying property of the microscope. The microscope also has the capacity to distinguish the small gaps between two separate points which humans cannot distinguish, and it is known as the resolving power of the microscope or the resolution. Light microscope using diffused light from the sun or the artificial light to illuminate the object to be observed. This is the structure of the light microscope. Here you can see the different parts of the microscope which we are going to study later. These are the parts of the microscope: ocular, body, then the arm, coarse focus, adjustment knob, fine scope. So these are the different parts of the microscope. We are going to study each and every part in detail. This is the microscope which has the nomenclature of all the parts of the microscope. First part of the microscope is the arm, which is used to support the body tube. Second part of the microscope is base, which support and stabilize the microscope. Here is the base. This is the base. Third part of the microscope is the eyepiece or the ocular lens. Here you can see the eyepiece. It magnifies the image produced by the objective lens. Then the body tube. It maintains the proper distance between the objective and the ocular lens. This is known as the body tube. This is the coarse adjustment knob. It moves the stage and up and down and a large amount for the focusing. This is known as the coarse of focus. Then the fine adjustment knob. It is the small round knob on the side of the microscope used to fine tune the focus of your specimen, and after using the coarse adjustment knob, we have to use the fine adjustment knob. This is the fine adjustment knob. Then the light source. It provides the light for viewing the slides, projects the lights upwards through the diaphragm, the specimen, and the lens. So here is the light source. Then the diaphragm. It controls the amount of light passes through the slide. This is the diaphragm. Then stage and stage clips. They hold the slides into the place and supports the slide being viewed. So this is the stage, and these two are the stage clips. Then the objective lenses. There are three objective lenses. One is the 4x, another is the 40x, and third one is the 100x. So focus and magnified the light coming through the slide. Then the resolving nose piece. It rotates to allow use of the different power objectives. So this is the nose piece. Then the inclination joints. It supports the arm and control the body of the microscope. So these are the inclination joints. Now what is magnification? It increase of an object's apparent size What is resolution? It power to show details clearly, and both are needed to see the clear image. To see the clear image, both is required. One is the magnification property of the microscope and other is the resolution property of the microscope. Now what are the lenses and the bending of the light? Light is refracted when passing from the one medium to the another medium, that is refractive index, a measure of the how greatly a substance slows the velocity of the light. N is equal to C upon V. Here C is the speed of light in vacuum and V is the speed of light into the substance. Direction and magnitude of the bending is determined by the refractive index of the two media forming the interface. What is focal point and focal length? Focus light rays at a specific place called the focal point. This is the focal point. And distance between the center of the lens, this is the center of the lens, and focal point is known as the focal length. So this is the focal point, here the center of the lens, and this distance is known as the focal length. Strength of the lens related to the focal length. Working distance, that is the distance between the front surface of the lens and surface of cover glass or the specimen. This distance is known as the working distance. Now types of microscopy. First is the bright field microscope. The ordinary microscope is known as the bright field microscope because it forms a dark image against a bright background. So image will be dark and the background will be bright. That's why it is known as the bright field microscopy. The microscope consists of a sturdy metal body or a stand composed of base and an arm to which the remaining parts to be attached. A light source may be mirror or it may be the electric illuminator is located into the base. Two focusing knobs are the fine and the coarse adjustment. By the use of this first coarse adjustment and then the fine adjustment, by use of this two knob we can adjust the picture and we can magnify and resolve the picture properly. They are located on the arm and can move either the stage or the nose piece to focus the image. Then second is the dark field microscopy. Unstained cells and the organisms, they can be observed by simply changing the way in which they are illuminated. A hollow cone of light is focused on the specimen in such a way that unreflected or unrefracted rays do not enter the objective. Only light that has been reflected or refracted by the specimen forms the image. It means that the background is the dark and the image is the light. Image will be bright and the background is dark. That's why it is known as the dark field microscopy, in which specimen only reflect or refract the light. So the specimen will be bright. The field surrounding a specimen appears black while the object itself is brightly illuminated. Because the background is dark, this type of the microscopy is known as the dark field microscopy. Considerable internal structure is often visible in larger eukaryotic microscopes. The dark field microscope is used to identify the bacteria like the thin and distinctly shaped, that is the Treponema pallidum, which is the causative agent of the syphilis. This is the dark field microscopy. These are the objectives and the condenser, and here is the specimen and the dark field stop. These are the some pictures or the some organisms which can be seen or which can be studied by the use of the dark field microscopy. Now the next type of the microscopy is the phase contrast microscope. Unpigmented living cells that are not clearly visible into the bright field microscopy because there is the little difference into the contrast between the cell and water. The microscope which can be stained or which can be pigmented, they can be studied by the light field microscopy, but the organisms which are unpigmented and which is like the water and which is like the cells and water, there is no difference. So this type of the organisms, they can be studied by the phase contrast microscopy. So the microorganisms often must be fixed and stained before the observation to increase the contrast and create variation into the color between the cell structures. A phase contrast microscope, it converts the slight difference in the refractive index and cell density into the easily detectable variance in light intensity and is the excellent way to observe the living cells. So phase contrast microscopy is especially useful for studying microbial motility. It also determines the shape of living cells and detect the bacterial components such as the endospores and the inclusion bodies present into the bacteria. Then they contain polyhydroxybutyrate, sulfur or other substance. So this microscopy is generally used for to study the living cells which cannot be stained. This is the basic diagram for the phase contrast microscopy. Here you can see the image and here is the condenser and other is the other part of the microscope. Now the next type of the microscopy is the fluorescence microscope. The microscope first considered to produce an image from light and passes through a specimen. This is the general microscopy. An object also can be seen because it actually emits the light. In light field microscopy, we provide the light to the specimen and specimen become dark against the bright background. But here in the fluorescent microscope, the specimen or object, it produces the light, it emits the light. So an object also can be seen because it is actually emit the light, and this is the basis of the fluorescence microscopy. When some molecule absorb radiant energy, they become excited and later release much of their trapped energy as the form of the light. Any light emitted by the excited molecule will have a longer wavelength than the radiation originally absorbed. So the object which has absorbed the radiation, and this radiation will be emitted from the object in form of the light energy, and because of this light energy emitted by the object, this object can be seen by the fluorescent microscopy. Fluorescent light is emitted very quickly by the excited molecule as it gives up its trapped energy and return to the most stable state. So excited molecule, it will emit the light, fluorescent light, and then after emission of the light it will be reach to the stable state, from excited to the stable state, and during this transformation they will emit some fluorescent light, and because of this fluorescent light the object can be seen properly by the use of the fluorescent microscopy. Here this is the basic diagram of the fluorescent microscopy. This is the eyepiece from where we can see the object. These are the objective lens, and here is the mercury vapor lens and the heat filter. Here is the exciter filter, and from this excited filter we can see the object. In fluorescent microscopy, ultraviolet, then the violet or the blue light forms an image of the object with the resulting fluorescent light. Mercury vapor lamp or the other source produce an intense beam. Heat transfer is limited by special infrared filters, and the light passes through an excited filter that transmits only the desired wavelength, and a dark field condenser, it provides the black background against which the fluorescent objects will be glow. Usually the specimen have been stained with the dye molecule that is known as the fluorochrome dye. So the organisms or the object which cannot emit the fluorescent light, they can be stained with the fluorochrome dye, and because of the staining with the fluorochrome dye, this dye will emit the light, fluorescent light, and the object can be seen by the properly. So by staining with the fluorochrome dye we can see the object brightly upon exposure to the light of the specific wavelength. But some microorganisms are autofluorescing. The microscope forms an image of the fluorochrome labeled microorganisms. These are some applications of the fluorescent microscopy. It is used into the medical microbiology and the microbial ecology to study the bacterial pathogen, to identify the bacterial pathogens such as the after staining with the fluorochrome dye, and especially labeling them with the fluorescent antibodies using immunofluorescence procedures. The stained organisms will fluoresce the orange or the green and can be detected even into the mildest of other particulate material present. So this we can identify the object into the group or into the mixed culture, from the mixed culture. It will distinguish live bacteria from the dead bacteria by the color. They fluoresce. They produce some fluorescence after the treatment with the special mixture of the stains. Thus the microorganisms can be viewed and directly counted into the relatively undisturbed ecological niche. These are some examples of the fluorescent microscopy. The first picture is the Escherichia coli, which is stained with the fluorescent antibodies. Second is the Paramecium. The third is the flagellal protozoa, and the fourth is the mixture of the Micrococcus luteus and the Bacillus cereus. Here the live bacteria fluorescence green color. So here we can see that the color of the bacteria which is green, they are the live bacteria, and the color of the bacteria which are red, they are the dead bacteria. Because of this green color, we can say that the bacteria is emitting some light. Either they are stained with the fluorescent dye or they are emitting their own fluorescent color. But the color which is fluorescent color, it indicates that the bacteria are living bacteria. Now the next is the electron microscope. Transmission electron microscopy. There are two types of the electron microscopy. One is the TEM and other is the SEM, that is the scanning electron microscopy. First is the transmission electron microscope. That is the limitation of the light microscope. So it can it can observe only 0.2 micrometer size of the bacteria, but the bacteria which have bacteria or the viruses which have the small size, they can be studied or they can be identified and observed by the use of the electron microscopy. General shape and major morphological features, they can be visible by the light microscope, but the detailed internal structure of the larger microorganisms and the smaller microorganisms are also cannot be effectively studied by the light microscopy. So these limitations arise from the nature of the visible light waves, not from any inadequacy of the light microscope. So these are the sample preparation of the transmission electron microscopy. We can take the sample and we can make some slice by keeping the sample into the parafilm, and we can make thin slice by the use of the microtomy, and this thin slice can be taken onto the slide, and this slide can be stained, and we can view this microscope, view this object by the transmission electron microscopy. This time, that is the transmission electron microscope, it contains the tungsten filaments. It generates a beam of electrons that is then focused on the specimen by the condenser. So beam of electron is generated into the transmission electron microscopy, and this beam of electron, it will be passed or it will be focused on the object, and the object can be viewed. The magnetic lens are used to focus the beam. The column containing the lens and specimen must be under high vacuum to obtain a clear image, because electrons are deflected by the collision with the air molecules. So there should be the creation of the high vacuum, because the electron which is passing from the beam of electron, they will be collide with the air and they will make some noise. So there should not be presence of air, so electron will be directly focused or there will be directly pass on the object. So vacuum should be created. Magnetic lenses from the enlarge visible image of the specimen on the fluorescent screen, and one is the photographic film. The screen can also be moved aside and the image captured on the photographic film as a permanent record. This is the basic structure and the working of the transmission electron microscopy. This is the tungsten filament, it is the cathode, and the another is the anode. This is the condenser lens magnet. Here we can see or we can keep the specimen. This is the objective lens magnet, then the projector lens magnet, and the final image on the fluorescent screen or the final image on the photographic film when screen is lifted aside. So this is the basic structure of these are the some examples of the organisms which can be studied by the transmission electron microscopy. This is the structure of the Proteus mirabilis. Flagella and fimbriae, we can see this internal structure of the Proteus mirabilis, and this is the T4 coliphage, which is the bacteriophage, and the structure of the bacteriophage can be studied or viruses can be seen only by the use of the electron microscopy. As we know that viruses cannot be studied or we cannot see viruses by the use of simple light microscopy. So this is the hexagonal structure of the bacterial T4 phage. And then another is the scanning electron microscopy. It examines the surfaces of the microorganism. Its SAM electron microscope is differ from the TEM, that is it producing the image from electron emitted by the object surface rather than from transmitted electron. So here in transmission electron microscopy, electron beam is passed on the object and we can see the object or we can view the object. But in scanning electron microscopy, the electrons are emitted by the object, and by this object emit the electrons, and by this method we can view the object. So this is the main basic difference between the TEM and SAM. In TEM we are passing the electron beam, and in SAM the electrons are emitted by the object. These are the sample preparation which is similar like the transmission electron microscopy. These are the basic structure of the scanning electron microscope. Here this is the condenser lens and the scanning coil. These are the primary electrons, they are be emitted by the specimen. These are the secondary electrons, and here is the specimen. This specimen, they emit the electrons, and this secondary electrons will be go away, and the primary electrons, it will be passed and it will be finally captured by the electron gun. And here is the photomultiplier tube, and here we can take the photograph of the object which can be viewed. So these are the cathode ray tubes for viewing the object, and it is the vacuum system, so electron will not collide. Collision of the electron will not be occur with the air, so vacuum should be created. Applications of the scanning electron microscopy, it is used into the human skin, and the lining of the gut also can be examined. Then the fungal hyphal structure, they can be studied by the SIM electron microscopy. Now what is staining? Why we should stain the cells? Because if we want to study the microscopy, the cells should be stained and then we can observe them into the microscope. So staining is the required. The most basic reason is to enhance the visualization of the cell or certain cellular components under the microscopes. Cells may also be stained to highlight the metabolic process or to differentiate between the live and dead cells into the sample. Cells may also be enumerated by the staining cells to determine biomass into the environment of the interest. How are the cell stains and the slides should be prepared? Cell staining technique and preparation depends on the type of the stain and types of the cells. On the more and basic procedure for the staining of the sample, first is the preparation of the smear. We can take the suspension of the microorganisms and we can make the smear on the slide by the use of the nichrome wire. Then we can fix the smear by the fixation into the heat. We can pass the slide into the burner, and by the use of the heat the smear will be fixed. Then we can mount them and then we can stain them by use of some acidic and the basic stains. Now the stains are the dyes. The stains carries either a positive charge or a negative charge. Bacteria typically carry a slight negative charge on the cell surface, so they attract a basic dye. So generally basic stain is used into the simple laboratories. Most of the stains used into the lab, they are the basic dyes. A negative stain use acidic dyes that do not stain the cell but rather the backgrounds. Now these are some examples of the basic stains: methylene blue, basic fusion, crystal violet, safranine, malachite green. These are the examples of the basic stains. And other is the acidic dye, that is the eosin yellow, rose bengal and the acid fusion. They possess the negatively charged group such as the carboxyl group or the phenolic hydroxyl. So these are the examples of some acidic dyes. Now the staining techniques. There are two types of the techniques of the staining. First is the simple staining. It uses only one basic dye and it provides the basic information about the cell shape and the arrangement. And other is the differential staining. It uses more than one dye, and this procedure reacts differentially with different kinds of the bacteria. It helps to distinguish between the different kinds of the bacteria, and most common and important differential stain is the gram stain, which is used to separate or distinguish the gram positive and gram negative bacteria. Gram staining, it is the most important differential staining techniques. Differentiate all bacteria based on the cell wall composition. The gram positive bacteria and gram negative bacteria. Gram positive bacteria, they possess peptidoglycan in their cell wall, so they can be stained with the crystal violet and they can be stained blue colored. And gram negative bacteria, they possess lipopolysaccharide in their cell wall and they can be stained by the safranine dye and they will be stained red color. So we can differentiate easily gram positive and negative bacteria, and it is the first step to identify the unknown bacteria. This is the method for the gram staining. The first step is the application of the crystal violet. So gram positive bacteria, they will retain the crystal violet, and gram negative bacteria, they will not retain the crystal violet into the second and third step. Second step is the application of the mordant, that is the iodine. This mordant, they will intensify the stain and it will make or increase the bonding between the cell and the crystal violet. Third is the alcohol wash. During this alcohol wash, gram positive bacteria, they will retain the crystal violet, and gram negative bacteria, they will leave the crystal violet and they will be remain unstained. So here you can see the blue color bacteria, they are the gram positive bacteria, and gram negative bacteria are colorless, they have not retained the crystal violet stain. The fourth step is the application of the safranine. So remaining gram negative bacteria, they will be stained by the safranine and they will be stained pink color. So we can observe the gram positive and gram negative bacteria, gram positive with the blue color and gram negative with the pink or red color. So this is the differential staining. We can differentiate the gram positive and the gram negative bacteria. These are the some summary of the gram stain, and these are the gram positive and gram negative bacteria. Now another stain is the acid-fast staining. It is the differential stain identify the bacteria which possess mycolic acid in their cell wall. is very important human pathogen, that is the Mycobacterium tuberculosis. It can be stained by the use of the acid fast staining. Mycobacterium tuberculosis, they possess mycolic acid in their cell wall, and this mycolic acid can be stained by the acid fast staining which possess Zell-Nielsen carbonyl fusion, that is the ZNCF. These are the bacteria, Mycobacterium leprae or Mycobacterium tuberculosis, stained with the acid fast stain. Some special stainings such as the negative stain, which is used to study some bacteria. Then acidic dye stain background, not cell, used to determine cell shape and the size. Other is the spore staining, by which we can identify the spores of the bacteria. Other is these are the negative staining, image of the negative staining. Image of the endospore staining, we can see the endospores produced by the bacteria. These are the flagellus staining, by which we can study the flagellus structure of the bacteria. Thank you.